Hello everyone, this is John Jenkins, and I'm bringing you another video. I Will Be Rich Part 3, and I know that you guys should think this is a big contradiction because I just released a two-part series about why you should stay poor, and actually there is no contradiction. Basically, the point of that video was to say that in order to get rich, you have to stay poor. So since I want to become rich, the obstacles away, I have to stay poor to become rich. And I'll get more into that later. But yeah, it's it's like Robert Kiyosaki says, if you won't work for free, then you'll never be rich. But let's get to the point of this video, which is uh, I Will Be Rich Part 3, and I'm starting off with the ninth book. This is the list of books. I'm starting off with the 10th book. I left off after I finished the ninth book last week, and um, yeah, the ninth book was The CEO Tightrope by Joe Trammell, and the first one for this week will be Modern Classics of Science Fiction by Gardner Dozois. And I read this from March 5th to March 20th. I don't remember what I was doing at that time. That might have been the time when I was doing the drawing exercises. I might have been doing drawing exercises, so or it could have been a whole bunch of other different stuff. But anyway, it took me 15 days to finish Modern Classics of Science Fiction, or maybe it was just a really long book. But anyway, Modern Classics of Science Fiction. Uh, I like the story about the kid who lived next to a mutant forest. I like that story. That's one that stuck with me. Also, I like the story about the lady with the suitcase. The lady who checked into the hotel and she had the suitcase. I like those two stories. The rest of them were not very memorable. I mean, they were too science fictiony, as in they were so married to the conventions of science fiction that uh, they did not make they did not bother to make it readable or interesting. It was very conventional science fiction. Um, I'm not going to ruin the story for you, but you know, I enjoyed those two stories: the story about the lady with the suitcase, and the story about the kid who lived next to the mutant forest. I really like those stories. So yeah, if I were to grade it, I'd say it was an okay book. Not great, not bad. It was pretty okay for what it was. Obviously, I'm not a very big science fiction fan. So next one, Poverty and Power by Edward Hoyce. I read that one from March 10th to August 31st, and this is the one that I was just reading 30 minutes a week. I was reading that 30 minutes a week. Um, so, um, one thing in particular it said was that, well, the book is about this, talking about the struggle of the poor and why America owes the poor a living, and obviously, I'm a Trump Republican, so I shouldn't find that appealing, but talking about poverty is something that is close to my heart because I am poor, raised on welfare. Um, so um, yeah, so it talks about how the poor are struggling, and it's an intractable problem. Personal responsibility doesn't work. We need, government handouts. And the one thing that it did say that I found interesting was that people who are born poor, one way they can get out of the cycle of poverty is by not associating with anybody. Because if people in poverty, if, if you're in poverty, the only people you can associate with are the poor people. And if you try to associate with poor people, all they're gonna do is bring you down. And I've noticed this in my own life. You're around poor people. The only thing the only thing that can come out of their mouths is, let's, produce children out of wedlock. Let's get stone drunk in the middle of the week. Let's, I don't know what other kind of irresponsible, destructive behaviors, but that's the only thing you hear out of the mouth of the poor, you know. So I certainly saw that in my life. Why I try so hard to avoid people. Why I try so hard to avoid social situations, because I understood that people that I could not get into the network that I wanted to be in, and the people that I was around were just gonna tear me down. So yeah. Plus, they just didn't like me, so it was a lot easier to stay away from them because they didn't want to be near me either. And so that was the thing that I really agree with from this book. Um, it was the most memorable part of the book. And number 12 was The Ascent of George Washington by John Furling. I read this from March 29th of 2016. All these books are in 2016 uh, to April 6th. So that is, let's see, March has 31 days, so that's 30, 31, 29, 30, 31, and then it goes to 6, which means it took me 9 days to read this book. And I love the graphic design on the book. It was really appealing. I love that blue and the high quality visual aspect, the high quality visual elements and things of that nature. The graphic design was really good. They had another book on George Washington, but the graphic design sucked on it, so I didn't check it out. So you can tell a lot about a book just by the graphic design. You can tell if it's a good book or not. But for the most part, just by the graphic design. Uh, so George Washington was born to a wealthy family. His older brother was the successful one, and George Washington was the less successful one. And he started off as a surveyor. He would go out and survey the lands on the frontier for the government. He was surveying for somebody. It was either for the government or for a private company. I think it was for the government. And he was a surveyor, and you know he was very the stuff that he did back then would have sent somebody to prison. I mean, it would have been Watergate times 10 if that stuff happened today. He would when he got into office as a senator, as a congressman, he would um, he would change the laws to benefit his private land ownership. He was a big landowner at the time, and he would change laws to give him more land. He would change laws to give the advantage to the land that he already owned and things of that nature. So that would be uh, that would have bought some prison time if he had done that today. He also uh, he also confessed to a murder, which is amazing now that I think about it. Our first president was a murderer. You know, uh, literally a murderer. I mean, well, he didn't directly kill somebody, but he was responsible for the murder of a of a of an unarmed British civil servant, and yeah. Um, so it talks about how the British came to New York and they tried to invade from New York. They tried to invade from the East Coast, and how they were running through the streets of New York, and the different generals that worked under George Washington and how they fared, and also not Andrew Jackson, John Adams, and all the founding fathers who were there at that time, and you know George Washington's life as president, and so I really enjoyed the book. I will definitely read it again. Um, yeah. So he didn't say anything that was really memorable, though. I don't really memorize quotes from presidents. Um, yeah. So number 13 is Trading in Danger by Elizabeth Moon. I read this from April the 8th to April the 12th, so it took me 5 days. And you have to count the 8th as well, because that was the first day I started reading. So you can't just take 12 and subtract 8. You have to add the 8 in there. So it took me 5 days to finish the book. So what is it about? The Nevada Transport Company is about a space cadet, uh, a military pilot, a military space pilot in training, um, and she gets well. She goes on a mission to transport some cargo through space, and she runs into some serious trouble, and her life is in danger, and she barely makes it out alive. So I really like this one. I started reading it back when I was in college, but I never finished, and I really enjoy like all forms of strategy. You know, uh, I really enjoy the fact that it's got a military aspect to it. Elizabeth Moon is actually a former member of the Marine Corps, so she's got that military background, and it shows in her writing. But also, it's not about direct military action. They are a transport company, but it's got that military feel to it. And I enjoy that. That's something when I read Honor Bound by W.E.B. Griffin. Um, I sort of enjoyed the fact that it was military, but they were focusing on the cerebral part of the military and not the gun-toting part of the military. That military strategy, that military mentality, that military, that organized structure that was so interesting. I really enjoyed that and about the book, and that kept bringing me back. So I would like to read more Elizabeth Moon books. So yeah, it's about a space cadet. She's transporting cargo through space, and she runs into some serious trouble. And she and her entire crew are threatened with starvation and suffocation and murder by space pirates. And yeah, so very very great. Uh, Number 14, 24 essential lessons for investing success by William J. O'Neill, from April 14th to April 16th. So it took me 3 days to read this. And, I had I had seen a video on YouTube, and it said that, Warren Buffett had read every investment book at the library. Actually, this is when I read Warren Buffett's Management Secrets. That book said that Warren Buffett had read every management book at the library. And then I was like, okay, I'm gonna read every management book at the library. And then like when I got there, like it was one investment book, one fiction book, one business book, one wealth book, one, so I could not force myself to read nothing but investment books. Uh, but I read 24 Essential Lessons for Investing Success. Back in 2015, I read a book called Bulletproof Investing, which has some very interesting stuff in there. Um, um, but back to this one. Yeah, it told me some great advice, like, if you have $10,000 to $20,000, if you have $20,000 or less in the stock market, you need to have one stock, and that was a big mistake that I made. Along with a second mistake, which was I was buying penny stocks, and I guarantee you, you do not want to get involved with penny stocks, you know. And I'm so greedy. I'm so naturally greedy. Uh, that's probably why I'm so poor. You know, I'm just naturally greedy. Um, um, yeah, I was so that's what brought me to penny stocks. I'm just naturally greedy, and when I calculated how much money I can make if that penny stock went up even just a little bit, even just to $1, $10, $20, you know, because I bought the cheapest stock on the stock market, the cheapest stock possible, and I was like, when this goes up, I'll be richer than anything you can imagine. But obviously, you know, if anything in life were that simple, then we'd all be broke. You know, so I'm I'm putting I read the book and it talked about the cup with handle. It talked about buy and hold versus sell. And I believe the book was advising you to buy and hold. You know, different investment books teach different things about when to sell, when to hold, all this other stuff. Uh, what else? Um, yeah. Um, yeah, that's all I have to say about that book. Is that it gave me a lot of tips about investing that I still use today. You know, as soon as I read that, I believe I sold all my penny stocks uh, because that was a terrible investment decision. And yeah, so that's all I know about that book. All right, so this is a 23-minute video. I'm gonna stop right here at number 14, and we're gonna move on to number 15 next week. Okay, so everybody enjoy your day, and I will see you later. Bye.